And we're back. I hope you missed us. I hate that you had to. So YouTube kicked us off again. How you doing this morning, Sunshine?
I'm unkicked.
Unkicked. Debanded.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
And we're properly ashamed of our bad conduct.
I know. How dare we?
Oh, wait, what did we do?
I'm still not real fucking sure.
Right, because the notification that we got said that we were kicked and our content was removed for medical misinformation.
Yeah. I mean, I got that, but...
Now, I remember the show that we did.
Uh-huh.
And what we talked about in that show was vaccine mandates and how they're bad.
Yeah.
Which is not medical information. Like, it can't be medical misinformation because it's not even medical information.
Did you just get us banned again?
Probably.
I hope not.
But it was definitely a political commentary, political opinion, unrelated to the medical implications. But here's the thing. So, YouTube has a bad habit of banning people for mentioning the jab. Without, like in this show this morning, we're not going to talk about the efficacy of the jab. We're not going to talk about even the ethics or morality of mandating the jab this morning. We're going to talk about censorship. But here's the thing. YouTube has banned many creators, like Steven Crowder, for example, for citing science on the topic. Crowder was removed for making a statement about the jab. And the statement that he made was literally reading CDC documentation from the CDC about the jab online. So, what's happening here? If YouTube's banning people for quote-unquote misinformation, then what needs to be understood, that language, that word misinformation, they're not saying that we're wrong or that we're crazy. When they say that someone has spread misinformation, they're making a very specific accusation of a very explicit and volitional action to, through intentional deceit, cause harm to people who might witness the distribution of that information. What you're saying when you say that somebody spread misinformation is that person knowingly and in full belief understands that the information that they're saying is false and is doing so with the explicit intention of causing harm by misdirecting the activities of people informed by that deception. To be clear, unless I'm making a joke or saying something explicitly satirical, or Jamie's asking for shadow ban. We were straight off YouTube all last week. We couldn't upload or live stream or anything. But I've never on this show said anything that I do not believe to be true. At the time that I've said it, I've learned new things and corrected things that I used to believe, which I have changed my mind on, learning new information. But I've never said anything on the show that I haven't believed to be true, unless I was obviously being satirical or facetious, sarcastic. And I mean, neither has Cameron. That's not what we do here. So, what happens? What is occurring when YouTube bans a show like ours over the claim that we have provided misinformation? Is fraud. What YouTube has done is committed the crime of defrauding people. Now, if YouTube wanted to say, look, YouTube is a private platform, and I'm going to get to that because I hate the my private platform argument in the context of the First Amendment argument, and I'm going to to dig into that a little bit this morning. If YouTube wanted to say, look, we don't want you to say those things on our network. Yeah, okay. YouTube has the right of free speech and free association, just like we do. Right? But instead, they're not saying we have a right to disassociate. Instead, they're accusing us of a criminal activity. They're committing fraud. They're committing a crime. And they're committing an even higher crime because in order to commit that fraud, we have seen elected officials, mostly Democrats. Now we've got that whistleblower, what's her name? Frau Buren? Frau Haugen. So
the plant?
Yeah.
I mean, no, she's not a plant.
The very, very obvious plant. Like, she's totally a whistleblower. Oh, look, she was verified on Twitter as soon as she came out, and now she's got a hearing at the House committee and the next day. No, nothing shady there at all, plant. So we have Robert Barnes is the lawyer that does the show with Viva Fry. He did a pretty good breakdown on state actors and what constitutes a state actor. When you're talking about a private business like Google, YouTube, et cetera, what it takes for them to become a state actor under the law is that there is incentive from the government, which we can point to clearly. We've got Democrats, we've got elected officials actively calling for censorship explicitly, and many of them. AOC has called for explicit censorship. They were all on the bandwagon to ban Alex Jones, et cetera, et cetera. It's one thing to call for somebody to do something, but then if you say, hey, private entity, as a government official, it would be a crime for me to do X. However, as a private entity, it is not a crime for you to do X, and so I would like you to do that for me so that I don't get in trouble for committing the crime, since it's not a crime if you do it. Oh, wait. Then there's Section 230, and that offers immunity. So YouTube is offered immunity through Section 230 for committing that crime. That dichotomy of objects, the incentive to commit the act, coupled with the incentive to commit the act by the government, from the government offering the incentive to commit the act, and the offer of immunity by the government to commit the act, makes you a state actor.
Yeah, I didn't commit tax fraud. My shell company committed tax fraud.
It's a little more like if the FBI were to send, I don't know, for example, a non-FBI employed FBI informant who's not actually an FBI agent, but takes money from the FBI, and then they offer him immunity in, I don't know, a kidnapping scheme, or the staging of an insurrection, or perhaps the staging of a far-right rally 6 months after. It's like that. Because you're offering an incentive from the government to a private entity, and then you're offering an immunity for the commission of the crimes. This means that what YouTube is doing is a violation of the law, violating the rights of citizens under color of law.
And so here we are on YouTube talking about the fact that YouTube tries to whack guys like us illegally. And I feel like that's a fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. It's like,
well, and so we look at censorship lawsuits like this one that's coming out from Donald Trump, right? There's a strong case to be made that social media censorship violates the Constitution. Yes, the First Amendment doesn't ordinarily bind private companies such as Facebook and Twitter, but their censorship constitutes state action because the government granted them immunity from legal liability via Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. In addition, threatened to punish them if they allowed disfavored speech and colluded with them in choosing targets for censorship. In other words, Trump has a colorable claim that he has been the victim of effective government rather than private censorship. And see, what I'm saying is that this lawsuit doesn't go far enough. He is making the argument that I've just made. His lawsuit's making the argument that I just made, that YouTube is now functionally a state actor for this narrow purpose because of their being incentivized and immunized by the government for doing this particular action. But what bothers me is that there are several of these lawsuits going on now, and none of them are correctly, I might add, alleging that the nature of the censorship under not just the color of law, but under the specific banner of misinformation is an act of fraud. The same thing is true of the fact checkers, right? We've talked about this a little bit before. What's her face? The conservative black chick that is on
Candace Owens.
That one. Candace Owens had a lawsuit against Facebook. I think it was Candace that had it. Had a lawsuit against Facebook over lost income based on the fact checkers. Because what the fact checkers do, this is okay. Be careful on social media, guys. Be freaking careful there. If you see a post on Facebook that says, put in your name and the year you were born to see what you should dress as for Halloween this year. It's a phishing scam. They're trying to steal your credit card information. They're not stealing it directly. They're building a database of a shitload of identities, and then they'll cross-reference those over time, and you'll give them your birthday over here and your favorite color over here, and what was the name of your first puppy dog, and what was the first car you drove,
and your favorite book.
Stop it.
And your mother's maiden name.
Stop it.
The name of your first
Well, this one's only getting one of my probable security answers from me. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, Facebook is running a ghost profile on every single person out there, even if you don't have a Facebook account. It just compiles the data of anybody that might be you. Even if you have a Facebook account, you've got a ghost account. Just in case you create a second or third Facebook account. Or you manage a page or something, and all that gets tagged. So there might be 4 different Christopher Lowrys, right? With 3 different middle names. And they're all associated to my Facebook page and someone else's and someone else's and someone else's. And that data gets collated to build the cleanest profile. And in theory, it's all for advertisement targeting. But of course, giant databases like that, like for example, I don't know, the Office of Personnel Management that handles all federal employees, including those with top secret security clearances, those never get compromised by nefarious actors. They had to send me a check and a protection plan when OPM got compromised. That's right. I almost forget. I never forget. I never forget when my government fails me while I'm serving them. Like that time that I was at war and Obama just didn't pay me 1 month.
Yeah, I actually remember that.
My wife, so there I was. I was at a war, and my wife calls me on Skype one night. Hey, babe, I need to go pay the rent, but we didn't get a check. And I'm like, come again? And the next morning, there was a commander that was like, hey, Lowry, we want to go kill some terrorists. Can you? I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. That's what I do at work. And when I'm at work, I get paid. We can kill terrorists after you pay me. You just go call Obama.
To be fair, though, was that really a job for you? I mean, technically, yes.
I enjoy making movies.
Same thing. Same difference. A lot of hard...
And I occasionally make movies for free because I enjoy it.
A lot of hard work and a lot of shooting people. Okay. But big tech.
I still love that joke. I love shooting people so much that when I got out of the Army, I went and bought a camera.
Right. Okay, so... But what do guys like us do? Because here's the real problem, okay? YouTube has probably got more money on lawyers on retainer that are just sitting there, not doing anything.
Right.
Just waiting on YouTube to say, okay, you, and you. Go. Whereas we don't. Like, going and hiring a lawyer, I happen to know for reasons, starts at anywhere from putting $1,000 to $5,000 down. And that's just what you put down, okay?
And that number goes up.
And you still have to make payments, okay?
Yeah, you can't talk to one of YouTube's lawyers for $5,000 down.
Exactly. So, but let's just 5,000 is a nice round even number. You got $5,000 laying around, you could just throw at a lawyer? Because I don't.
I do, but I don't want to. That'd be tight. I wouldn't be happy about it.
But that's the thing. That means functionally you don't. I mean, if you've worked hard and you've built up a cash reserve, you have it for like a cash reserve, so that if, like, I don't know, the transmission on your van goes out, you can just go pay somebody to fix it.
Better not. I did that this year.
That's why I used that as an example. But the point is,
$800.
the vast...
Not bad for training.
Wait a minute. I'm talking about cars.
I am too. Use training.
Oh my.
Yeah, give me a call, man. I can hook you. I can help you out. I know a guy that can hook you up with a used training for like $800.
Ew. Just... Oh, okay.
Traps are gay.
Count Dankula would disagree.
I'm sure he would. I saw him roll up that spliff on Viva Fry. He's live with Viva and Robert Barnes, and Barnes has got his cigar that he won't like because he doesn't smoke in his office, but he sits there and he chews on the cigar, and they're talking, and freaking Dankula, man, he doesn't even give, and I mean, so practiced. He's just like, oh yeah, and then fucking, the bloody cops, they come to my house about the dog with the Nazi pug, and they're like, you coming with us, mate? And then all of a sudden I was in the news everywhere, right? And I like, didn't even slow down.
Okay, but what do we do? Like, Trump can afford this lawsuit.
Can swing up a bunch of lawyers, and, well, one thing we can do is we can talk about it. One thing we can do is make sure that you know about it. And speaking of that, we just got thrown off of YouTube for a week. Who knows? This show might do it again. By the way, if we get a strike today, it's 2 weeks. But, so, thing one, if you turn on the YouTubes to watch our show live every weekday morning at 7:30 and you don't find us there, we're on Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter live simultaneously. And somehow I think Daily Motion as well, but that one's kind of touchy on the live thing. There's a couple of other ones that we're live on, but they're mostly for the Korean market. And yeah, 안녕하십니까 여러분들이 오늘은 미국의 censorship에 대한 통과하고 있어. 감사합니다. But and we get a few out in the Spanish market, so ole obres. And believe it or not, we have quite a few viewers out of Afghanistan. And of course, in your native language, bang! Bang, bang, bang!
Okay, oh, Jesus, I can only imagine people with headphones because that was...
Sorry, guys. But Peninsula, I speak Korean. If I'm in Mexico, I speak Spanish. I'm in Afghanistan, I speak fluent 556. So,
okay, well, what kind of legs?
so you can find us in all those other places. If you come to watch us on YouTube and we're not there, we're in all those other places. And if you don't catch us live, we're reposted on Rumble and PocketNet.app and Odyssey, and a few others. Now, I think it's Rumble. On Rumble, we're going to be going into a higher tiered creator account where we could start live streaming simultaneously there, as well as all the other places we already are. And I actually need you guys to do me a favor, if you could. Go to Odyssey, find us on Odyssey, and when you watch videos on Odyssey, you get paid in library tokens, which is a kind of it's a cryptocurrency. It's not a super valuable cryptocurrency. I'm absolutely not suggesting that you invest or trade in it, but you're paid in library tokens if you go on Odyssey, and you can donate or you can tip us in library tokens, which are the only currency that we can spend on Odyssey. And once we're up over about 110 of those, then we can pseudo monetize and begin live streaming simultaneously to Odyssey as well, which gives you guys another platform where you can find this show. And Odyssey, like Rumble and BitChute and Dailymotion, is a channel where you can go and watch content where people can talk freely without being censored by aggressive, fraudulent state actors who are actively engaged in the vulgar, unconstitutional, un-American censorship and deterioration of the American citizen, like, for example, YouTube is.
Brett Brown says, use trannies and worn-out Canuter valves for sale at Brushfire Mind website. Buy 2, get a free refill of blinker fluid. And Brett, I got to tell you, man, it will include the fallopian tubes and the dough patch kit that you need to make it all work.
And I'll even throw in a free plastic bag for you to collect exhaust test samples and bring them back to the motor pool.
Okay. So we talk about it, that's great, and then Trump can sue, but, I mean, what are we coming up on, like, 10 months now since he's effectively been deplatformed on everything? Because what this amounts to, and I think the reason why we can all pin everything on the Trump lawsuit is, if you can deplatform a president, especially for something he didn't do.
At the same time that you refuse to deplatform ISIS, the Taliban, Hamas, Black Lives Matter, I can list terrorist groups all day.
Right.
The Democrat National Committee.
AOC.
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, like, I follow them on Twitter, and every now and then I'm like, did y'all... Yeah, y'all meant to post this, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. The big tech social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., they've made it very clear that in this country, freedom is bad, but murdering babies is high priority.
Serious question. If one or both of us was anything other than white, would we...
Actually, yes, we would have been banned because and I don't want to get into it because they're having a big problem there.
Gee.
With non-white people and the jab.
Gee. It's almost like if you tell people their entire life, don't trust the government, all they want to do is screw you over, and then you remind them of things like the Tuskegee Experiment at every opportunity you get.
Okay. The Tuskegee Experiment. The Tuskegee Experiment and the Tuskegee Airmen are two very different things.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. And you can see how, though, when you're just rolling with it. Anyhow, but the Tuskegee Experiment, so... Oh, hey, yeah.
Yeah, I follow like Styx Hexenhammer, Tim Pool, Alex Jones, guys like that over on Styx. Over on Odyssey. There's one on Odyssey that I like that is not on YouTube, Salty Cracker. You haven't watched any of Salty Crackers videos? He is, brother, it is the name on the box. He is a salty cracker.
As the Brits would say, it's the name on the tin.
It's the name on the tin.
Okay.
I sat down to watch an episode. I watched an episode of the Salty Cracker Show, and I thought, wow, this is like snakes on a plane. This is exactly what I'm here for.
Didn't have to promise it would be high art. It just promised to be...
Right. It promised to be snakes on a plane. And if you offer me snakes on a plane and B gets wrecked, I'm in. B was this super popular Korean pop star around that time, and he was the Korean gangster in Snakes on a Plane. He was the Korean guy in the Speed Racer remake and a couple other places. And anytime B gets wrecked, I'm in.
Okay, so, but seriously, before we go, because it's Donald Trump and all that, does that help his case, or is the cult of hatred of Trump so powerful that this is going to supersede the law and morality? Is this a good thing that he's having this lawsuit, or is this potentially a terrible thing? Because when he loses the lawsuit, now we have precedent, and damn if libs and lawyers and judges don't love precedent.
Well, we end up with precedent either way. So this is one of those things where there is a reward that can be had, but not without taking the risk to acquire it.
Yeah, but when the libs get their precedent, it's almost never to our benefit. Okay? It's almost never to the benefit of the common man. It's almost never benefit to the good of society. Like, they get their precedent, and then from that point forward, they don't argue the original law anymore. They then argue the one application of that law that let them do whatever it is that they want to do.
So, like I said, there is a big upside here, but there is risk before we get there.
Does he have a shot? Like, that's really what it comes...
Oh, yeah.
But he got... excuse me if I'm cynical, but, you know, after coming from the most fortified election in history and all of that...
Well, one of the things you have to look at here is part of the math on this for the government is if Facebook and YouTube are allowed to take governmental actions and not punished for it in the way that the law says that they should be, then that precedent will allow them to usurp other authorities from the government, which is not in the interest of the government.
Look, it's the thing about, like, you know, you create the golem, you make Frankenstein's monster, and then it grows outside your control. Like, just because it's not in the government's best interest to let Facebook and YouTube amass a ridiculous amount of wealth and power doesn't mean that they won't let them do it and even think they're doing the smart strategic thing.
Guys, if you're going to make a golem, word to the wise, scratch the word of life on the back of his head so you don't have to come straight at him to kill him.
Yes, and there's a lot of nerdtastic references in that right there.
Nerdtastic, hell, go read some Jew books.
I was trying to avoid the J word.
I don't.
Well, if we're going to get banned, let's get banned.
I love my Jews.
Oh, I'm not saying I have a problem with the Jews. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, like, there's references to golems outside of Jewish mysticism.
Oh, yeah. I love Jewish mysticism, though. It's a high holiday. Let's shake a live chicken over the children.
Okay, but just to put a button on it, we already live in a world where 45th president of the United States doesn't have a Twitter feed, but the fucking Ayatollah Khomeini does.
Yes.
And that's okay. Apparently. It's
not. It's really not.
I just don't have high hopes. I hope that I am wrong. I hope we come back on this show and we say, "Hey, guy, that was that. Hey, guys, this was that 1 out of 1,000 where one of us was wrong, and in this case, it happens to be me." I'm just really worried that I'm not even worried. I'm convinced that this is going to go so far, and then it's just going to die on the vine.
What needs to happen, I think, with the big tech guys, they need to get done like Dominion. Dominion is getting sued under RICO.
Okay.
So, I haven't dug into this case much yet, but that's a big deal, right? Because that means they're going to start bringing in other agencies, other actors, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. What needs to happen is, and unfortunately, our only theoretically legitimate asset in this context, technically under the law, is the FBI, which is the FBI needs to be RICO'd, right? But that's a whole other thing. What needs to happen with the big tech censorship thing is they need to be charged with criminal conspiracy under the RICO Act, and the RICO Act in the charging of a criminal conspiracy needs to wrap up Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, the Alphabet Company, and every currently elected Democrat who has spoken publicly in support of big tech censorship as a criminal conspiracy, as an organized crime, right? They need to be treated like any other organized criminal activity, which they clearly are. But we're not there yet. Let's just hope that somebody sprouts a sack or a little intuition and we get rolling down that road before too long. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Do you have anything to close on?
I just hope we're still on YouTube tomorrow.
We'll see. My hopes are high. So we'll see you in the morning. Oh, yep, nope, that's it. Tomorrow.